I'm Keith.
And I'm Emmeline, and you're listening to the Creative Education Podcast.
Joining us today is Laura Pike. Laura is a music teacher, actor and charity worker who is now a financial advisor.
Thank you very much, Laura, for joining us tonight and to come and speak on the Creative Education Podcast. And I wonder if you would like to start by introducing yourself to everyone and maybe giving us a little bit of history to your musical background.
Oh my goodness, how long have you got? Hi to both of you. It's so lovely to be here and to speak to everyone. My name is Laura Pike and I'm from Aberdeen. I studied after school as a music teacher. Then I went on and did musical theatre in London. So I have quite a varied background, and it took me Edinburgh, London, etc. And I'm back in Aberdeen, but I'm not teaching anymore. I'm actually doing financial advice and financial education in schools, which is quite exciting. But I think having the musical background, bizarrely, has helped doing what I'm doing now. So that's a little bit about me.
I know.
Awesome.
It's quite an about turn, isn't it? From starting in musical theatre and coming background.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you can see that when you're teaching and you know yourselves, or you're performing with children and working with children, life is a performance. You know what I mean? Because you want to encourage them and you want to get the most out of them to better their lives in some way. And I see that exactly the same as with my clients, because I say to them, okay, so what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And they'll say, oh, I want to make sure my son or my daughter has a car or driving lessons when they're 20. I want to make sure they have a deposit. I want to make sure that I've got a wonderful retirement to look forward to. So it's all about planning and structuring a life for these people, like I did for kids. So I without the singing, I must say, or sometimes the singing to make it sound a bit. But yeah, I think that background and seeing it more as education rather than advice, because everybody needs financial education these days, especially after the year we've had. So.
And as teachers, we know you never stop learning. It's a profession in which you constantly update your skill set, isn't it? So
absolutely, and I think that's a great thing. Is it makes us adaptable and flexible as individuals, not just as teachers, but to actually be able to. I mean, I've had a lot of jobs. I trained as a teacher, but then I went and I was an actor, and then I moved I did sales and marketing again, because when you're a teacher, you're not necessarily selling your subject, but you're promoting the work you do, and you're making it sound as exciting as possible so that children will buy into your love of that. So yeah.
Yes, I think I know we've spoken about it a little bit before, Laura, but the financial education in schools as well is so interesting and so important as well. Yes, just for young people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's from the work that I've already done with the schools. I mean, a bit like everything that you learn in the classroom. It kind of starts off of questions around the dining table, which children wouldn't necessarily think about, and I did one recently which looked into needs and wants and choosing, because as a child you tend to think, oh, I get what I ask for sometimes, because as parents and being a parent, I do want to give my child everything she asks for. But it's when they get old enough to actually make choice and think, okay, well, I've got £10. Do I need this or do I want it? And I think even clients now I speak to that may be in debt or struggling, and you've really got to take them back to basics of what they spend their money on. So what do you actually need rather than, and I think this year I think it's helped in a way. Well, maybe not helped, because it's been could be a terrible year in some ways, but it's created this way of, we haven't really been given choices, so our needs have been quite easy. You know what I mean? We've been quite easily pleased this year because we've had no choice at all.
Yeah. Interestingly, I had a conversation with my son yesterday about this very topic, and not about money, but about what he needed and what he wanted and what the difference was, because obviously Christmas is coming up soon. It's a week before Christmas almost at the time that we're recording this, and I was having a conversation with him about that, and he'd been throwing his weight around a little bit about what he needed, and I was like, well, actually, so some of those things are wants, they're not needs.
No. Yeah. And it's when I think it does come down to money. All of this, because if you give them a maximum that they can have, say, okay, well, Santa's going to spend £100 on you this year. What do you want? And then you look at it, and all of a sudden, whatever they want, and at the cost of things, it's so important that they know how much things cost, because I just think it's these are basic skills that need to be kind of not necessarily put in through other parts of the curriculum, but maybe just to stand alone, because that, as music specialists, is where you really hone out the skill sets in those areas. So
you make a really interesting point, and we've definitely spoken a little bit about it before, in that we ask our primary teachers to do so many things, to wear so many hats, and to be experts in so many things. And we absolutely have championed before, and continue to champion, that if you want to teach art well or music well, then sometimes the best way to do that is to get an expert, is someone who is an artist or is a musician, to give you input. And so you're absolutely right. Maybe when you're talking about finances or anything else, maybe sometimes that actual expert real life voice is really valuable.
Yeah. And I also think as well, I remember when I used to teach at uni, and I used to teach the music the primary teacher students, music and music. PE they could cope with, drama they could cope with, science they were okay with, but music was one of the ones they were thinking, how am I going to do this? And it was always about time. And I get that, and because I know that we're still, even though I'm not in the career anymore, I know that there is a shortage of teachers, especially in the primary classroom teaching music. So you were expecting, and I used to stand firm in this, in the fact that, well, okay, when this class isn't getting music for a term, I'd really like some input. And they were terrified to do this. And it's finding, though, something that isn't seen as a lesson, but something as a kind of, I don't know, like a health and well-being thing for teachers, because music creates happiness. And if you're to say, even every morning, choose a song that you've heard in the car and share it with the kids. Speak about this type of singer that it is. Speak about the instruments that they're hearing, how many beats in the bar. Before you know it, without actually knowing that you've done it, you've given them basic skills about music education, which has started the day off, got them focused. Right, okay, we've done our song for the day. Let's get down to work. And those things every morning creates it's repetition, it's sequence, it's children need that, they need that. But yeah, so I agree that it's important to have the expert, but to even just slightly integrate it into their day without actually knowing about it.
Agreed.
Is good as well.
And I think nursery classrooms do that. Probably they're very familiar with that, and they're using their song for tidying up, or their song for saying hello or goodbye, or for snack time, or whatever it may be. And I think sometimes that gets lost as you go up to school a wee bit, as we start to focus on maths and English and science and technology. And actually there's no age at which you stop loving music. Like that learning things through song and music could have been all the way up. There's no need to lose it after those early stages.
I agree, although I think my clients might find find it really difficult if I started going, everybody sit down, sit down. I used to love that. And the kids would go, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? It's
the music's got to grow with you. I mean, the music level has to go up as you go up.
Although they probably would sit down. We're meant to sit down now.
It's very funny that, you know, speaking about adults, I mean, I do still teach choir and adults and things, and we do this, get everybody to be quiet, and exactly, you know, it's an instinctive thing that it doesn't matter who you meet, they've heard it somewhere in life.
Yes.
You know, and they'll go, oh, she's clapping her hands, I'm going to clap my hands as well. All right, okay then, I've got to be quiet. You know, it's so funny.
Incredible. So when you're teaching the choir, and I know that you've been involved with some other performance stuff as well, I wonder if it's worth touching on that. We're talking about the value of music, but the value of performance, I think, is so integral as well. So I wonder if you've some experience you can let us in on that, because I think that for you that must be a big part of life, or has been a big part of life.
Yeah, it has, and it's something that I've really missed. I didn't think I'd miss it, because I have, you know, doing what I do now, I've been so involved in exams and learning and all of these things. But actually performing is probably the most exciting thing you could ever do. It's just one of these things. I don't know. And I mean, I've asked myself, why do I think it could be the reaction of the audience. It could be this sense of not being you. You know, this is quiet. People might think, oh, here she goes again. She finds this really easy to chat. I find this quite difficult because I'm being me. It's much easier if you got me to go in character. If I'd been this wicked stepmother, and then it would have been much more exciting. But yeah, it's this kind of able to put yourself into a different place and create magic for people is such an amazing thing for performers. And also it must be horrendous for a lot of my friends who are actors and musicians, and they can't do what they love and all of these things. But with the choirs, I mean, giving people a platform is just so important. And I think we've been brilliant. I think all of you and everything that the musicians and choir leaders and you know, it's been amazing what we've all done this year to actually create that space for people to still feel as part, because that's a big thing. You know, it's not just about the performance, it's about, and this comes so much through the Zoom choirs that I've been doing, is feeling it's fine they see each other's faces, or sometimes they don't see anybody's faces because everybody's forgotten to put their cameras on. But it's that whole thing of feeling, you know, part of something in a collective that is so important about. And it's always when you look back at things that we're missing, you know, on Facebook of different groups that we're in, it's all about the performing family. Everybody speaks about their family in this group because they see them as this group, you know. I don't even know if I answered that question, but that's
no, absolutely. I think about your experience performing, but then again giving the choirs different opportunities to perform as well. And it makes me, you know, I'm thinking about, it must have been about this time last year that we were doing the Evening Express.
I was just going to say that
again. Yes,
I was thinking,
I know.
And it was
speaking of things we're missing.
Oh, it was incredible, and just giving young people a platform to show what they do, and you know, I think.
And then thinking about the experience that Keith and I took, the choir from Orchard Bray School, the Makaton choir, and the experience it gave them, so much so that one of the boys broke his wheelchair plate because he was so excited. He was bouncing around. You know, it's just an incredible, experience and opportunity to give children. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it is. Just the whole performing thing, from panto to to shows that I've done, to just you know, it's I love I think as I'm getting older, you know, I'm not so much the young ingenue anymore. I'm usually kind of the nasty something, or the mother now. But I think, having done it professionally as well, it's that whole experience of the kind of the creating the character is so much more exciting. And I think that's as well, when we can go back and do it, maybe more straight acting things, you know, just so that I can feel as if, not that there's anything wrong, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with musical theatre, it's just, it's different, you know what I mean? And it's your kind of parodies of yourself, and yeah. But
I think you're right. You know, the value is not just in the performance, is it? The value is in what you learn about yourself and can apply to other areas of life or other areas of learning. You know, that confidence boost that you feel when the connection with the audience is there is something you can apply to your confidence in other stuff.
Absolutely. This is stuff we did a lot at drama school, and using experiences that you'd had in the past to connect with the character that you've got. That I played Jean in the opera company's Sunshine and Leith, and that part just, it broke me. It was so. I mean, it's such an amazing part, and you know, you would think, oh, it's a Proclaimers musical, but you wouldn't think. But that part is just such a kind of heartrending part, and that was just amazing. That was good. So yeah, and then, you know, you go to other sides, and you do panto, and it's so kind of animated, and kids are, you know, literally running out. You just hear this. Oh no, another one's terrified at Laura. Oh dear. That's just the clients. So
No. It makes me think about the importance as well of drama in schools, and allowing children the outlet to maybe move into a different character or express a different emotion, something they might not ordinarily. But if you say you're going to be the Wicked Witch and the panty, you know, or, you know, just when they're role playing, it gives them that opportunity, doesn't it, to then express emotions that ordinarily they might not have had the chance to.
No, absolutely. And it's you know, learning through the play. I mean, it's really what we're doing, is just kind of trying things out, because it means that they have an environment just to kind of try things out, you know, and it doesn't put any pressure on them that it's got to be a right thing. It's more a kind of just an experiment. We're going to be somebody else today. Let's see who else we can be. And then you might see a completely different side of them on the way that they react towards certain things, you know. Fascinating. I do miss
Absolutely
that. I do miss that whole, children are amazing. You know what I mean? I do miss that. You know, just the way that they kind of create, and the things they say are, it's just
Yes.
fantastic. I miss that. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sure that they miss you, yes, as well, Laura. But have you still?
But maybe not as the Wicked Witch.
No, maybe not.
Not as the...
No, definitely not.
Have you still been doing any online children's choirs?
So St James's Place, the companies that I work under, we've been doing for summer and for Christmas. We decided to do a kind of a national children's choir, which, you know, in summer they were more engaged with it, just because it was, you know, they weren't getting any kind of input. Yeah. Well, in fact, they weren't even getting school at home. Everything was
nothing.
Learning. So of course it was, oh, fantastic! Yes, you're going there. Yes. So for an hour on a Monday and a Thursday, I would literally perform to a blank screen because of safeguarding, I couldn't see them, you know.
Of course.
And it must have been, their parents must have been going, oh, here she goes. Oh my goodness. Because it's all like, wiggle your shoulders and wiggle your bottoms. You know what I mean? Just get going and playing, get your tongue up and make your name with your tongue and all of these things, and shake your hands to get the energy going. And oh, do you feel the tingle? I mean, they must have been thinking, oh my goodness, she's been seeing clients all day. Where does she get her energy? And then I'd go and need oxygen to kind of recover.
So difficult to do that when you can't see them doing it as well.
Very difficult.
Yeah, it's really, and the thing is that they, what was quite nice is, and there weren't many of them, to be honest, for Christmas, because we got a choir together for Christmas, and they're not local. I mean, we're speaking about kids from Dover, all over the UK that are coming together. They don't know each other, which I think is lovely, you know, and
connect to music.
It is, and they use, some of them were quite clever with the chat. They like to chat, you see, and they'd be putting their thumbs up and they'd be waving and they'd be giving me, you know, and that was lovely. So they could engage, and if they had any questions, that was lovely. They could come off and speak in mute, you know, and it would just be a voice. And but that was great. And it, again, the St James's Place community is so, it's all over the UK, and we never really get to meet. I mean, there are employees of St James's Place as well as advisors like myself that work self-employed within it. So there's never really there is, I can't say there isn't, because there is collaboration for the work they do for their charity, but I wanted music to bring them together, and although it was very small, you know, thinking ahead, I've got plans, so I'm already thinking to have a weekend of singing, have these children together, you know. It would bring, you know, it would bring the community of St James's Place, and you know, music. It's the only way to do it, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? So that would be wonderful. But of course, who knows what will be and what will be next year. So we can but dream, but think ahead. You know.
But you've used singing in so many different communities and groups to bring them together, Laura, and for so many different charities as well. And I wonder if you want to speak a bit about the different charities that you've worked with and created singing groups and brought those communities together.
I mean, the main one for me has definitely been VSA, because, well, that 5-6 years ago, Fiona Kennedy and I had a coffee, which turned into, let's do a show. Well, it wasn't really like that. It was more a kind of, it was just when the oil, things didn't kind of work out for the economy, the oil economy in Aberdeen. We thought, you know, we need to cheer Aberdeen up. We need to find a way to get everybody smiling. So what best to do it but through music and singing? So we thought, well, it started off actually that Sing 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 was, it was a workplace choir competition. So we wanted to create teams in workplaces that would do something for CPD, that they could come together, that they could feel that maybe on a Friday lunchtime, there could be time, they could be together, you know, collaborating, and would be enjoyable, that they wouldn't be feeling like, I've got to do another test for my points. You know, this is really important. And just to bring up morale and confidence within, because that's a big thing for me, is music and confidence, what that can do. And so initially it was a workplace choir competition. So I think it was 2016, 15 maybe. That's terrible, I should know. When was the first one? We put messages out to all workplaces, and it was primarily workplaces. So we looked at school choirs, we looked at oil companies, lawyers. So we ended up with 10 workplace choirs. which was brilliant. And we found mentors. So when I say a mentor, this is somebody that, you know, either has maybe been trained in music, or somebody that's done conducting, or somebody that is generally just interested in getting people together. And we put them in for 3 months from, well, it was usually March that we did it. So we put them in from January to March. So it was 3 months, 2 songs, 1 performance. So that's what our tag was, that, you know, you had 3 months to get 2 songs together, and they had to be of differing styles. And then you performed them at the performance, which was initially at the Beach Ballroom. And of course it moved when the Music Hall. And we had Paul Mealer, we had Roger Williams, you know, we've had and Craig Wilson, the Kilted Chef. You know, we've had amazing people who have been the judges for this, and they've continued to do this and come back to support us. But more than anything, we've made so much money through this, because I mean, the first year was just it was crazy. People were queuing down the Beach Boulevard for tickets.
Brilliant. Yes.
Which is amazing, you know, and just to see their friends or their family doing something that was probably completely out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
And I mean, there were men crying, no disrespect to a man crying, but you know, there was so much emotion on that stage, not necessarily from winning, but from just being part of this. And I would take, I mean, I wouldn't take a separate choir. I took the big choir. So they would come together every 2-3 weeks at the VSA, centre, and we'd rehearse as one big choir for the opening and the finale.
That's brilliant. Yes.
And I mean, to have like 200 people singing in 3-4 parts, some of them hadn't sung on a stage in their lives. And you think, oh my goodness. And we do things like there was a lot of, you know, preparation, and we sometimes stand in circles and or stand opposite each other, so that you could actually get used to people looking at you, because you don't ever think, you know what I mean, nobody thinks that, oh well, if I stand on a stage, people are going to have to look at me. But yeah, you're going to have to. So what do you look like? What's your face doing? You know, all of these things. And it was just the process for that was, again, really so much fun. And just build, and it's all about building the confidence and the excitement of not just the music or the performance, but what music can do for you.
Yes. You know? Did you have feedback from the different workplaces about, was it boosting them around? I mean, you know what they loved most was tea time on a Sunday, when they could all meet other people. They loved that, you see. And of course, if I ever said, oh, there's not a tea time tonight, oh no. And it wasn't necessarily for the tea, it was more that they were meeting other people, and they you know, some of these people, all they did all week, a bit like what we do just now, is we go to work, we come home, we have our hobbies, you know, you might go to the gym, or you might see family, but they don't really see anybody else outside the workplace or family. So for them, this was just such a social thing for them, you know. And that's what the feedback was. They loved that. They loved working for the charity. They loved the singing and the feeling of achievement of actually going on a stage in front of so many people, and people loving what they do. You know what I mean? And I think as you get, you know, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I completely agree. The choir that I ran was very similar to that. They were all about tea time. They were all excited about the catch up of everyone from the week before, and the sense of achievement when they finally got a part that was difficult, that they'd been grappling with, was just huge. They were just, it's, you know, that's what it all came down to, was that social aspect and supporting each other to do this brand new thing that they didn't do before.
And being children again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Children are so good at that. You put kids together, and they might take half an hour to kind of get warmed up, but then all of a sudden they're so good at mixing and just going out of their comfort zone. Adults struggle. I mean, adults do struggle, and I think it's, you know, it's life. We start questioning everything that we do. I mean, I don't know if you found that with stuff that you've done online with adults, but you know, I spend my time, you know, if we're doing something that they want to see collectively, they'll send you the recording, and every single one of them will say, I know this is rubbish, but, and I'm thinking, you know, and it's
Yeah,
this
all the
kind
time.
of inbuilt, I'm rubbish, I'm not good at this is not really my thing. When what they're creating is amazing, and what they've done and what they've learned this year. Okay, so they've not been together, but the skills, I think, on Zoom for singing with internally, your ear will be better, your confidence, listening to yourself will be, I mean, ask me to do it and I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, no, I don't want you to see my face. I don't like anything that's close up, so don't even go there. I'm not doing that. I'm not singing out without music. Oh no. But they've done that, you know, and it's amazing how that they've had to overcome that. Because the reason as well people love being in a choir is they don't maybe necessarily hear themselves, and they don't have to sing in tune. They can kind of tune themselves into somebody next to them. But they really had to now internally think, okay, what am I singing? Am I actually singing in tune? You know, amazing, because when they come together, they'll be like, oh, I'm actually better than I was before. I actually believe that they're, you know, it would be interesting to see the research on that, how
Definitely,
internally, and the tuning for people on Zoom has, I think it'll have been much better. But that's just, I'm no professor.
I would agree. Yes.
I wonder then, talking about those bigger events that you've been involved with before, if there is a primary teacher sitting there in their classroom listening to this, thinking, I would love to get my cluster group together, or I would love to get my work colleagues together, or I'd like to get classes from schools around us together and do something bigger. Do you have some tips of where to start, or some pitfalls of what to avoid when you're trying to organize a bigger event like that?
And are you speaking about like a big music event like that, or can it be lots of different kind of things? Okay, I mean,
it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I still have remember this from the College of Education, the Northern College of Education, when I was there, and I was there a long time ago. But I still remember Creativity Day. I'll never forget this. And one day out of the year, and these were us as students, and the music students worked with the primary teachers, and we all got together in what's now maybe Barrett Houses up at Hilton. But we got all together in the stage, and at the beginning of the day, we got given a topic. And then we were given groups to kind of work in, and each group had to create something that was on that particular topic through music, drama, art, and movement. And we got the whole day to kind of come together with ideas. You know, that for me it's not easy, but it's a way to kind of go, okay, it's a day, because I know the first thing that primary teachers will say, because they have to do everything, and they'll say, oh no, I don't have time for that. But if you actually peel down what actually has to what you have to do, you're working within teams, you're working together, you can have two teachers per group of children. The collaboration could be just huge, and what you could create would be amazing, considering you've only taken a day out of 1 year to do it. And then that could be, I mean, I'll never forget that. It's still imprinted in my memory now. And then we did it again when I was a lecturer at uni. We did Creativity Day with the primary teachers. And it was amazing, you know, from, I think it was the beach or something. And people were out. I mean, you'll remember this if you worked with Pete Story, making sounds, taking recordings of sounds in the beach, and, you know, and then creating a dance to this. And some people created art to this, You know what I mean? I mean, the things that you can, and it's not just about that. It's not just about the creative part of it, but it's also the team building, the creative sense, the working together, the
all the other skills that you'll learn.
all the other
Yes.
skills.
Yeah.
You know, that I think is. I still even believe it's something that a workplace maybe needs to do. You know what I mean? You take them out of the workplace and you give them a day of creativity that they have to create something that, you know what I mean? I mean, I remember as well when I was at uni, it's about just pulling creativity and thinking beyond normal. I like looking beyond normal and thinking out of the box, you know. Things are too normal as it is, you know. Think out of the box. How are you going to get these children really to push them as far as possible?
Yes.
But
And be
I think,
imaginative. Yeah.
you know, I think answering your question I mean, just take the time to do it, whether it's once a year, and then before you know it, somebody along the line will say, actually, you know what, that wasn't that much organization. And making sure that everybody knows what their tasks are, what they're doing. It's in the timetable, it's in the calendar, it's in the curriculum. The strands that you can tick off from all of that are huge. And before you know it, you'll be doing it in every single term, because it will take all the boxes and they'll say, actually, that wasn't as hard. And it was so exciting. Teachers will love it. I know and I completely understand for me to be saying, oh, it's easy. It's not easy, but you know what I mean? It covers so much. If you could find a topic that could bring them together. I mean, I know that we've tried throughout music to come away from topic-led stuff. I know that, but yet sometimes it does kind of creep. I mean, you can't get away from it. You know what I mean?
As long as it's open-ended enough that you can be creative in different ways, then it's not. As long as it's not constricting, then it's surely just a point of catalyst, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why something like the beach is quite good, because my experience of a beach would be different from your experience, you know, and my thoughts about it. Yes. And
I mean, some of them would think, oh, right, okay, we're going to go to the carnivals and we're going to take sounds of the carnivals, but some of them might actually sit and listen to the water and what that kind of, you know, I mean, it would be intriguing to see the children and how they see the things that are important to them in the beach. You know, some of them, it could be a cafe or going for an ice cream or just going for a walk, but some of them might actually see the sounds of all the machines as something to be quite excited about, you know.
It's amazing what will come out of it, because I've done a few sort of week-long things that are like that, where, you know, it's a residential course or whatever, and you know, I am the subject leader for one subject, and the kids will have picked 2 or 3 of those subjects, and I try to be, when I do one of those things, not the teacher who's defining what we're going to learn, because there'll be a performance on the last day. So I try to we're going to build a performance during this course of the week. I'm going to see you twice a day for an hour, so it still only adds up to be a day's worth of time or whatever. So during that day, we're going to make something by the end. And the way that it grows and shapes, and it probably won't resolve until day 3 or 4, and their performance is day 5, but you know, it's to not be terrified of the fact that you've sort of got nothing for a while, because that's all part of the process, and it'll come. It just needs the experimentation and people bouncing off each other for it to grow.
Yeah. And it's the trust of, it doesn't necessarily have to be a finished performance. It's, you know, life is a work in progress, really. You know what I mean? No matter what we do, there's always learning to do. There's always, so things shouldn't be shut down as being the finale. You know, you could leave them on the Friday with just, you know, this is something that we could kind of nurture next term. Where can it go from there? What other characters? Where can we go next with this? How can we do it? You know, and it gets them thinking to actually go further, that nothing is final. I think there's too much of that That's it. It can't go any
And it's
further.
done.
Yes,
Life
that's
doesn't
just
work like that. You know,
such an important life skill. Yes, absolutely.
So can I ask, how do you use creativity in your job now that we might think of as not a particularly creative job? How does your creative brain change how you do your job now?
Right. Well, that's interesting. I mean, we did kind of color. We do all these psychometric tests and everything, which are quite fascinating. I quite enjoy things like that, and it very much shows me as yellow. Okay, I'm yellow because I'm I am so yellow, it's unbelievable. But it also shows that, you know, if I'm slightly green because there's a caring side of me. I would say this year I've become more blue, which is methodical, mathematical, organized, because I think now that I'm kind of I mean, I'm always learning anyway, but more embedded into the actual job, it's made me more structured in my planning. Sometimes I'm speaking about really important things. So obviously life insurance, critical illness cover, death. I mean, this has been a huge part of the job this year because for the first 2-3 months, people were worried about their lives, and they realized that the things that I'd been moaning about that they should get, they should really think about getting, because all of a sudden a pandemic seems to be something that they realize, oh, right, okay, so I am important. I mean, the most important, and I always say this, is the most important thing about your life is you're your greatest asset. And I think from my background, I probably couldn't have the confidence to be as, and I'm not brutal, but I do say things as they are, because these are serious things. If you don't start looking at your pension, you will run out of money in your retirement. You know, that these are real things. And if you don't cover yourself with life insurance and critical illness, and having had my own personal story behind that kind of makes it a little bit more kind of heart-wrenching for me, because I'm so passionate that people need to protect themselves and their family, because it can change your life. So yeah, I think that's really where that side of me, because I do try and make things sound as exciting as possible when necessary. Plus my work with kids and with I mean, teachers are honest with children. They tell them what they need to know and what can happen in life, and if, you know, they teach them the skills to kind of live, you know. And I think that's amazing. And there's so much honesty about teachers in that way, that's how I think I don't hide. I don't, you know, I'll say it how it is. I speak about, and this actual being in this situation over the summer and this year, I feel much more confident myself in my job, because people still see me as Laura, the music teacher, and I'll go, oh, I'm not a music teacher now. And they'll say, oh, why? What are you doing? Oh, I'm a financial advisor. You're a financial advisor? How does that work? You know what I mean? But it's, you know, it's education. It's just, and I love making it as interesting as I can, because it's a challenge. I think if things aren't a challenge, you know, life is a challenge.
But I think creative people are like that all over. You know, we are magnetically drawn to challenges. We can't help ourselves.
Oh yeah. You know, if we want to make it a drama, we'll make it a drama. You know what I mean? There will be a way, you know. And I've come out with some really strange ideas, and I've still got them in my head, and I will use them one day. But I can imagine that, you know, the senior managers, if I ever said, right, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do, you know, I think I spoke to Emmeline about, I was at the wedding exhibition and I had to stand there. And of course, people are looking at me as if to say, why are you at the wedding exhibition? Have you got a band? Oh, I didn't know you were in a band. I knew you were in a band No, no, no. I'm a financial advisor. Why are you at the wedding exhibition? Well, I'm probably the most boring, but probably the most important person here, because if you don't have, it's all about protecting your happily ever after. And we spoke about that, if you don't have the things in place. I mean, if they kind of question that, I mean, my background is that I had been married a year and a half, and I had a stroke, no critical illness cover, and that changed. Just because I didn't know, I didn't know, one, it was expensive, and two, I didn't know what it could do. However, a year into a marriage, it could have paid off the mortgage. It could have given me extra money for rehabilitation. And you think, why wouldn't you pay it when you're so young? Why wouldn't you pay it? Because so that's why I was at the wedding exhibition. But I said to one of the managers, so because it's all about happily ever after, I'm going to dress myself up as Princess Fiona. And they were going, no, you're not, Laura. No, you're not. So, but I mean, all of these things, I think the confidence in speaking to people, and those are the skills with teachers that you need to have, is being able to kind of speak to people, tell them the truth, and teach them things that are so important in life,
Yeah, and that's what you're doing, is you're teaching them, and we've said this before on the podcast. The mark of a good teacher is someone who can explain the same thing 10 different ways, because 10 different people needed to hear it a different way, and that's still what you're doing. It's once a teacher, always a teacher, isn't it?
Well, that's it, and it's no different, and it shouldn't be any different. Having taught kids from a year and a half right up to, well, I'm now seeing clients of 91. You know what I mean? It's, and teaching doesn't change. It doesn't change because we have instinctively the same skills, no matter what you're doing, because we want people to achieve and to have the best life that they can have. That's it, whether it's music or drama or English or maths, you know what I mean? Or financial education, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's been absolutely lovely to talk to you, and I think that the point that you've made is really incredible, that once a teacher, always a teacher, and using those skills, those incredible skills that all teachers have, to make that big difference in your young ones' lives, because it's just absolutely integral, isn't it?
It's
so
crucial.
Thank you so much.
No, it's been lovely speaking to you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
It's been lovely, and it's been lovely to speak about something that is still such a part of me, and I probably couldn't do the job that I'm doing if I didn't have that background. I firmly believe that, because music, especially my recovery from when I was really ill, if it wasn't for music, my recovery couldn't have been done. Everything about it. I think music is so powerful with the brain and the way it works, and it's an incredible thing to be doing, that you're doing. So well done.
I think we can say that all of us wouldn't be who we are without music, all three of us. I think that music has made us.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't change anything for the world. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, people might think, do you miss music teaching? Well, there are parts of it, of course, that I miss, but I can see how I can change other people's lives in a completely different way and still be able to teach music as well. Yeah. I think that's it's so adaptable. So. But we could speak forever about this.
I know. But it was lovely to talk to you, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks to Laura for joining us, and thanks to you for listening. And if we've learned anything, it's that creativity can boost all parts of life, no matter what job you have. See you next time.